This is Board Games and Bourbon. I'm Glenn Flaherty, and we're going to talk about Exploriana, which is a new game. And this game is new because it's on Kickstarter right now, but actually came out before in a big box format. And it had a big board. There was an auction phase in it, and they've reformulated it so that it's a card game and actually has new rules and there is no auction. Now, the point of the game is that you want to be the most successful explorer, and you do this by scoring points. You get points by getting these cards that have victory points on them, by completing missions and stuff like this. And the game is over when the decks run out. The decks are different regions of the world. You have Africa, South America, and Asia. And these different decks have good things and bad things in them. And if you draw 3 bad things on a turn, you've essentially busted and you lost your turn totally. But if you're successful, you get some benefits. The 3 locations in here also have different densities of bad cards. And if I remember correctly, this is easy, medium, and hard. There are less good cards here, more good cards there. And you might have to go to these different locations because you might say, well, I'm only going to go to the easy one. But I think if you go down here, it helps you complete your mission cards and so forth. So let's talk about the setup, and then I'll talk about gameplay. So to set the game up, you're going to put this little board together. It has a score track, the different locations. You're going to put a deck out for each of the locations around the world, and you're going to display 2 cards from each. That kind of tells you what points are available, if it can complete your missions, and kind of sparks the interest of where you want to go. You're also going to get these little helper cards. Now, in the beginning, you get one for free, but after that, you're going to buy these cards. This card costs 3 coins here, and this one here lets you get a certain number of benefit cards, even if you aren't supposed to. Okay, but there's different powers. In future rounds, you buy these cards based on where you are, reverse score order. You're also going to get these little mission cards over here. And the mission cards say things like if you get cards with map symbols on them from different locations, you're going to score 4 points at the end of the game. You know, this says 3 flowers, you know, you get them. Okay, stuff like that. Okay, so what happens is, yes, you can buy things in reverse order, but to start the game, you place your workers in order of how well you're doing. So if you're in the lead, you place down your worker here. Okay, and then Sally Mae goes here, and then Jonathan goes over there, or whatever it might be. And now you play it out. And basically what you're going to do is when it's your turn, you're going to draw cards. You can draw up to 5 cards. If you draw at 4 and you stop, you only get 1 benefit. If you draw 5, you get 2 benefits. And if you're successful, what your benefits are going to be are that you can take all the cards that have animal prints on them. Like this says, this is an animal print. And that'll give you 2 points and might help you complete a card. You can take this one, animal print. This gives you 3 points, but there is a hazard on it. And that's like going down the wrong path or something like that. There's like attack cards. Let me see if I can show you that. That's a bad thing. So when you pull these cards, you don't want to have 3 of them necessarily. But it's also important to get these symbols because some of these mission cards say you need to get those symbols and stuff like that, right? So there's a whole mix of factors. Now, if you're successful, what you can do is you can take all the animal cards, or you can take a non-animal card, or you can even get these tokens. And these little tokens are rewards left behind by people who failed at a deck of cards. Like in this case, you don't know what it's going to be, but it says it's worth 2 points. They're also going to be on these little spaces on the board. And you can't see it here, but these spaces, as you lay them down, give you extra perks. Like this says 3, 4, 5. If you picked up this token that was on the 5th spot, you'd get 5 coins and a 5 score, plus you get the bonus that's on there. It's a little less as you go. So the more people have failed at a deck, the more that are there for you to choose from, so you get a chance. But that's only if you're successful at drawing. If you try to draw cards and you get 3 bad symbols, 3, travesties on your cards, you've busted. And so you take all those cards, you shuffle it back into the deck, and then you put one of these tokens that are worth points on that location, and you do that to entice people to visit this deck. Because ultimately what's going to happen is you're not removing the bad cards. You might not be removing the good cards, because if you take up all the animal cards, you might be shifting the quality of the deck. Now, that essentially is the whole game in a nutshell. You do this until the decks run out. The game seems to be taking about an hour. This says it's 2 to 5 people, but in a 2-player game, you're really playing as 3. And that's really how the game works. There is sort of luck in the game, but it's kind of like Catan kind of luck. You know, in Catan, you can play it two different ways. Catan, you can either roll a die, which can really just mess you up completely, or you can get cards, which give you a specific distribution of numbers. And in these decks, it's not totally random because you do have a specific distribution of cards. So you can kind of hedge your bets in there and kind of know what you're aiming for. I think that would take a lot of plays. But there are choices. You know, you choose what person you want, what power you want. You choose where you want to spend your money. You can even spend your money on a little helper if you want. And a little helper, when you use that helper, your guide, the guide will negate a bad symbol should you draw one. Okay, so you can spend your money there. You can spend your money there. You can choose what location you want. You can choose what benefit you want to take. So there are choices to be made, but there's also enough out of your control that you're not going to murder yourself if it goes bad. You know, in that sense, it's very much a family weight game because it's not based really on knowing the game better than anyone, and no one's going to get really upset. Okay, the thrill is also there, I must say, in choosing your cards and pushing your luck. Going for these, the mission cards really make it a little bit better. You know, you're like, do I really want to go for that next card? I did. Oh, I screwed it up. Do I want to stay at 4 cards or do I want to go to 5 cards and be able to have 2 end of round benefits? So those decisions are in there, and it actually looks pretty nice too. So anyway, I'm about 4 games into this. I've played it as 2-player and 3-player so far. I will report back with more, but for now, there it is, Exploriana, okay? Thanks everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.